If ever there is a large area in your photograph that you need to retouch or clean up, the patch tool can really help. So here I want to demonstrate how the patch tool works, then we'll apply what we've learned to a few photographs. All right, well, let's begin with this picture of this vintage gas can. With this image, what I'm going to do is copy the background layer by clicking and dragging this to the new layer icon, and I'll just call this one Demo. Next, we want to select the patch tool. Now, you can find the patch tool underneath your other healing tools. It's located right here. Or if you're in the photography workspace, which you can choose by clicking on this pull-down menu, that's the one which I'm using in this course. You'll just find it located there in the Tools panel. Now, up in the Options bar, we have two options, Normal or Content Aware. Let's start off with Normal. Now, the way that this works is you click on the Source option and then just click and drag to create a selection around the area that you want to retouch or clean up. In this case, I want to get rid of the copy on the gas can. So I click and drag a selection around that area, then click and drag this to a good source area, the can below. I wouldn't want to sample the background, right? Because that wouldn't really make sense. So I'm going down below, let go, and what it will do is it will create a patch, and it will fill in that selected area with that patch and retouch away our problem. Well, that's how source works. Let me show you how destination works. With destination, you select an area as well, and then click and drag the area to a new part of the image. You can see how we now have the words duplicated. It blends in really nicely. Yet if we were to try to go over the background, what we would see is it would try to pick up the color and the tone and the texture, but it's just too different, so it wouldn't work very well. But destination does allow us to make selections and move them to new areas in the image. All right, well, let me undo all of that for a moment. And I'm going to delete the demo layer to talk about another way to use the patch tool. This time we'll create a new layer. We'll call the new layer patch. Here I want to highlight how we can use the patch tool with Content Aware technology built into it. So we'll click on that option. With Content Aware, we have two fields, structure and color. If you have a pattern, say like a brick wall with a repeating pattern, you want a high structure value. If you have something like the gas can, which is really pretty even, we could have a lower structure. For colors, if you want more color blending, bring this lower, or less, leave this higher. We want to sample all layers so we can do our patchwork to a new layer. The way this works is you just click and drag around the object or the objects that you want to get rid of. Once you've gone around that, click and drag to the new area, let go, and rather than just bringing up exactly what was there, we'll use that Content Aware tech to try to rebuild and recreate the patterns and textures, and often that leads to better results. So in my own workflow, I almost always use Content Aware. All right, well, now that we've seen that, let's take a look at two images. Here I'll open up the first one. This is a photograph that was captured during one of my other courses. We were filming it, and with this image, there are two things I want to retouch away. So I'll create a new layer. Name the layer something like retouching or patch or whatever. Choose the patch tool, the options bar, Content Aware. Now here I do have a little bit of a brick pattern. It's an old Adobe building, so I'll bring my structure up a bit higher. Colors leave as is, sample all layers turned on. I'll go ahead and make a selection around the area that I want to retouch away, the bright bricks over here. Click and drag that to a new part of the image and then let go. And what it will do is it will cover that up with the content. If it doesn't look good, you can either click and drag to a new area and try to sample a new area, or you can just click and drag to create a new selection and then let go and it will sample that area. Now in this case, one of the things you may notice here is that we have a repeating pattern. We have one brick repeated again. If that happens, make sure to select that one and then just click and drag to a new source area. Because ideally you want to really hide your tracks, right? So you can make multiple selections, click and drag to a new area, create the patch, which ideally covers up whatever the problem is. Now in this image, there's another problem up top. Let me zoom out so you can see that one. It's a microphone coming into the frame. That's because we're creating a course and we're filming the course when I capture the image. So here I'll go ahead and select around that area, drag over to a new source area, let go. And, you know, sometimes when you do this, you'll just get it right from the get-go and it will look perfectly. If it doesn't, what you want to do is keep trying. Move this over until you have a good source area, and that's the beauty of working with this. And in my case, the second time was the charm. That really helped to remove the lights and also the microphone from the background. And this image is now complete. Let me move to one more. This last image will be kind of our impossible patch work here. Let's say with this image, what we want to do is we need to fix this wall up so that it looks nice. Rather than seeing all of the cracks and patina, we want to get rid of that. So again, it's about making that selection, clicking and dragging to a new area, making a selection, clicking and dragging to a new area, making a selection. Here I'm going to click and drag to make sure the bottom part of that's lining up nicely. And I'm going to go through, and what I'm looking to try to do is to improve it little by little. And you can see that essentially I'm making these selections, repositioning this in order to have a good sample area. I'm trying to build this up in a way that looks nice and natural. When it gets to working on a really big area, you want to divide and conquer. So here I'll work on a small area and I'll patch whatever I can in that area. Then I'll need to go in there and work on another part of the image and bring this over. And really what I'm trying to illustrate here is that even in situations like this, where, I mean, it's drastic and you need to do a lot of patchwork, you can do this. And the trick, of course, is to do it little by little. And if it doesn't work on the first time, like my last one didn't work very well, don't worry about it. Just keep going, keep bringing over your selections, cover up the content. It's almost like you're layering up this texture. And sometimes you'll get these kind of weird, funky things like I have here. I'll cover those up. And by working with all of this, what it will do is it will eventually allow us to clean up this wall altogether. So I'm just going to make a few more adjustments here, but mostly wanted to show this example just to illustrate this idea that if you have really big or impossible projects, this is doable. It's feasible even when it seems like it's impossible. And if you were to try to use some of your other retouching tools to do something like this, oh man, it just would take forever, right? There's no way that you could do all of that in that short amount of time. And the technique is using the tool to create your selection and then layering it up and building it up little by little in order to build or create a new texture or pattern to improve the image like we've done here. Now with this photograph, I also have to say, I think it looks better with all of the texture and whatnot, but sometimes you have a project where you have something you need to clean up and you need to take care of it. The patch tool, when you have those large areas, man, it can really help out.